What's up?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to finally talk to you in person or virtual.
Yeah, me too.
This is going to be great. I mean, first of all, the journal, obviously, the coverage of you has definitely been driven by my obsession with the UFC. And I've just been really excited that, first of all, you're doing well, that you're in action, that you're here. I think I started following you when you were I think you were still in LFA, but I think it was your last fight. It's like your final LFA fight. And then when you got into Contender Series, I was actually in Israel watching that at 5 a.m., stayed up the whole way, waited to see if you got the contract and everything, and I was so excited. But then there was like a long layaway. There was like a long break before the debut. What happened there? I've always wanted to know.
I hurt my back and neck. Um, I was having like really bad, not like anything in the vertebrae, but just really bad spasm, really bad inflammation. And I was training very hard for my debut. Obviously, I had a really tough opponent scheduled to fight, and I couldn't train for like a week. Then I would do one session because I felt half decent. I would hurt myself again, couldn't train for another week. It just got to a point
Yeah.
where I couldn't move, so we had to pull out of this fight.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I thought it must have been something like that. I was like, why are they not giving him a fight yet? I got so annoyed. I was like,
Yeah.
UFC, give this man a fight. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's been awesome. I think just watching you get some recognition now, obviously, regardless of like the whole Kanye thing, and everything that's going on with there, it's just fun to see that now you have such a big backing and that you're starting to grow this following, whether it was off the back of that or not. Like, it just makes me happy to see. So what's that been like for you? Because you have a big splurge now. There's been a big uptick in that.
Yeah, uh, how do you say, overnight success, 15 years in the making.
Yeah, decades later. Uh, I love that. All right, so first of all, Mazel Tov on your fight win. It was really a dominant performance.
Thank you.
I super impressed. I think you kept your fight like at your pace. You kept it really technical. You didn't let him get into the brawl mode that he wanted to be in. Like you kept a distance that was just phenomenal. What was that the game plan going into that? What was your game plan going into that? Were you focused on keeping it at your pace and keeping it within your sort of technical kick range, or was there a different game plan that you adjusted going in?
Obviously, I wanted to fight the way I fought. I wanted to keep the range. I wanted to keep the distance. Um, he's very aggressive, very fast. If he gets in my face, if I let him get there, he could punch me three, four times before I know what's going on. So I wanted to keep that range. More range means more travel time for his punches. I can see them better, react better. Um, but I was also ready for war. I knew it could go down to it, that if I'm not able to keep the range, if he, starts to tee off on me, then I'm gonna have to brawl it out with him. I was ready to do that, but obviously that's not the preferable way for me to win.
Yeah, definitely. You have a really good technical skill set. Obviously, that stems from your karate background, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about Japan a bit because I've been to Japan, one of my favorite countries. I know like one sentence in Japanese. I'm like obsessed with that place. How long were you there? What was that process like? Give me the karate background.
I went a few times. First time I was 16 years old. I went and trained there for a month. Um, I had the time of my life, training hard, which was the fun part. And then just traveling, being in Okinawa, uh, learning the culture, learning a little bit of the language. I loved it. Then I was obsessed with it for a year. I went back to school, high school.
Oh, you
Um,
you did that when you were in high school?
yeah,
No way.
I was 16. Yeah, I was 16.
Oh, I thought this was after. Okay, that's crazy. Damn, that's nice.
Yeah, I told my mom, like, I want to fly with my karate coach to Japan in the summer. And she said, yeah, sure, you go ahead. And then the week later, I showed up with a plane ticket, and I'm like, okay, mom, that's it, I'm going. He's like, what? Where? What are you talking about? Oh, you said I could go to Japan. You already said yes.
Nice. I love that. Take the opportunity when you can. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I didn't realize you were so young when you did that. I should have read Brian's article more thoroughly.
Second time I went there, so after a year of being obsessed with it and just, dreaming about it and wanting to go back so bad. Um, then I flew for 3 months training camp, and it was actually the worst time of my life.
Oh, why?
Yeah, many reasons. Starting, I was young and I didn't know how to manage my money. And this time we went for a longer period, so we got an apartment. Um, I I didn't have that much money to begin with, but I spent it too much on the apartment, on furniture, on eating out, having that fun like I had the first time. And it quickly, it backfired. On top
Mm-hmm.
of that, I was training a lot more. So I was training like 6, 7 hours a day, and it was brutal.
Yeah, that's aggressive.
Yeah, and then I don't have money to eat. So
God.
I would eat like a few bowls of rice a day. Um, so I was hungry most of the time. I was training. It was very difficult. The discipline was very hard. I had to follow like Japanese culture, and being the youngest in the gym, I had to like carry people's bags and flip their shoes around before they leave the room, pour everybody water. Like I had to do something. I was pretty much
Oh,
enslaved for 3 months. Um,
you were the freshman of the gym. You had to do all the
exactly,
like the dirty tasks. Oh God.
exactly. Um, yeah, clean also the wooden floor, all that stuff. And again, just brutal training. So it was not fun. It was not easy, but 3 months there, I finished the training camp. I tested for my black belt. I got it. And then, it's a big part of what made me today. I feel like I wanted to run away from there like after a couple of weeks. I was like, I'm done. I'm changing my flight ticket. Next week, I'm out of here. A week goes
Oh,
by. Okay, I'll change it next week. I'll change it next week until the 3 months were over. And, you know, I was at least proud of myself that I stuck around.
yeah, that's so hectic. Was it a gym of international fighters or was it mostly Japanese fighters? Because they don't really speak that great of English there, right? Like that's quite a difficult, like it's just difficult if you're not with international people to communicate.
It wasn't an international gym. There was a lot of Marines and stuff like that in Okinawa. So there were a few who were training, but
Mm.
basically same thing. Like I went in there. The master, he doesn't want to teach you because you're like a foreigner. For all he cares, you're here for a couple of months or just to come into one day and take a picture and leave. So he doesn't want to teach you, and he'll do anything he can to not teach you. He'll say, "Oh, you want to train? That's great. Let me refer you to a friend." They try and pass you on down the line until you get to the least certified like instructor. Until like if you go along with it, you're gonna end up being taught by a 7-year-old yellow belt.
Yeah,
So
yeah, great.
you
That's
gotta say
great.
like, "Oh, thank you, but I want to train with you." No, I'm not accepting new students right now. Oh, please give me a shot. So then me and my coach would show up at his house, which was above the dojo, every day, and bring him gifts and bring him like that was the first time, yeah. Bring him like
You'd bribe
mangoes,
him.
yeah, bribe him
That's hilarious.
until he accepted to start teaching us.
Oh, it's actually a really solid strategy. I mean, listen, like those things you have to kind of hustle and figure out like what's going to work. But yeah, I mean, it obviously paid off because your kick game is insane. Like watching you at this last fight was such a technical masterclass. Like your kicks were crazy. They were landing. You could hear the pop in the stadium every single time they landed. Like it was really phenomenal. So, but that was only karate, right? You weren't doing any like ground stuff there. It was just karate.
No, I started all the other martial arts and skills at 22 when I flew to Vegas the first time.
Oh wow. Okay, so you didn't even train jujitsu or anything in Israel?
No,
That's crazy. You're also okay, so you're from Herzliya. I lived there for 6 years, or I lived in Herzliya for a couple years. I went to IDC. And are you related to Sheba Levy?
of course.
I lived with her for a year. She was my first roommate in Israel. At IDC,
She's my brother's wife.
oh my God, that's crazy. Wow. So she got married the summer after we lived together is when she got married. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how to say in English, my sister-in-law.
Yeah, yeah, sister-in-law. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
she's my
Yeah.
sister-in-law. my
Yeah,
sister.
oh my God, that's hilarious. I need to message her about this. That's so funny. So yeah, I mean, it's so crazy to hear like your whole story because this getting into MMA so late, like you were in karate for so long, but then transitioning to all of these other martial arts, like your ground game is really phenomenal. Your wrestling is phenomenal. Where did you pick up those skills? Was it all from Syndicate? Did you go and do like specific wrestling and jujitsu training camps? Like, talk to me about that process of transitioning into like the full mixed aspect of martial arts.
Yeah, so after the second time in Okinawa, I got there when I was 17, flew out 18 years old with my black belt, and I got certified and started teaching karate. I had a few successful gyms that I was running, slowly building them up until it got to a pretty good point as far as students and financially and all that stuff. Um, but I would watch the UFC at 5 a.m., every Saturday,
Yeah.
or like back then it was twice a month maybe, if we were, being spoiled. And I had like this dream of being an MMA fighter, but in my head I was like, I'm doing something different. I don't know any of the ground stuff. Um, and also, but I did have like a little bit of, I wasn't self-aware enough to know that they would kick my ass probably. I thought like, oh, maybe I
Mm,
could, hang around with them.
delusional
Uh,
enough to think you could go and like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
without the ground, I think I got a good shot.
yeah.
No,
No, but you need that
but
delusion in fighting a
yeah,
little,
you do.
You really do.
You need the balance. I think you can't be like completely delusional, which I see a lot of people, we'll talk about it, but
Yeah.
you gotta have like some grasp of reality. Um, so I at some point I decided that I'm gonna, like I did with karate, if I want to be the best in karate, I flew out to Japan and spent months there. And if I want to do MMA, I'm gonna fly out to Vegas and train with the best and try and become the best. So that's what I did at age 22. Uh, I got to Vegas. I met my coach, Jimmy Giff. Um, I can't tell you how lucky I was to meet this guy. Um, he took me under his wing. He was a boxing coach from Boston who moved to Vegas to brought by the UFC to train MMA fighters, get them better at boxing.
Mm.
Um, he already had a couple of world champions even back then, and he started teaching me. I'm going to keep the story short, but he actually is the one who brought me to Syndicate so I can get some jiu-jitsu and MMA sparring, but he was teaching me striking and not only like the boxing side of it, but striking as a whole, like a different mentality.
Mm.
I can tell you, like, the man, never threw a kick in his life. He was a boxing trainer, but he helped me land my kicks. He taught me like how to set it up so I can land the kick, how to use feints, how to use movement. So he completely
Mm.
developed my game.
How to measure too. I noticed you do that really well.
Yeah, yeah, understanding the ranges. It's pretty simple, but if nobody tells you, then you just don't know. And
Mm.
you think you know until you get the truth. So yeah, a lot of things is like that. So he taught me, pretty much almost everything I know in striking as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I had the karate background, but none of it would work in the cage if it wasn't for GIF. Um, and on top of that, started doing jiu-jitsu twice a day. I knew I only had a limited amount of time in Vegas. I was there only for 3 months with my French passport. Couldn't get an extension or anything. So I was training like a madman. I was using every second I had for training. Um, I was training with GIF every day. I was doing jiu-jitsu at least twice a day. I was doing one MMA practice every day. I was living with the jiu-jitsu master with Fredson Paixão, who was 7 times world champion. And I would go train with him twice a day and then ask him questions at the house, maybe
Wow.
try and wrestle with him, get beat up. Uh, but really anything to learn the game. And that's what I did for a few years. I was going back and forth, Vegas for 3 months, visa expires, go back home 6 months, work, save money, do that again. I did that for like 4 years before I actually got a visa that let me stay in Vegas.
Wait, so how old were you when you got the full visa to go to Vegas?
So I went to Vegas the first time at 22, started training MMA at 22. I had my first amateur fight at 24. Did four fights in a year. Then I broke my hand, so I was out for a
Oof.
year, and then went pro at 26. At 26 is when I got my P1 visa, so I could turn
Oh,
pro.
okay, amazing. So wait, so we moved back from Israel at the same time. Because I was also, wait, how old are you now? You're 30?
31.
31? Okay, so a year before me. So yeah, okay. So I mean, the visa situation is always so complex. I think a lot of Americans don't realize how tricky it can be. So you were coming in for 3 months. You can come in and leave, or you had to only be here for 3 months out of a year.
No, I could come in and leave, but I had to leave for at least 6 months.
Got it. Got it. So it was like a,
Also,
hmm.
also saving, like I would be here for 3 months, I wouldn't have any money left. I would go back home in debt, work hard, pay the debt, maybe take a little loan, fly again.
That's so hectic. Were you with is it Dana or Dana?
Donna.
Dana, were you with Dana this whole time?
Yeah. For
Wow, that's crazy.
first 3 years that we were together, I was gone for like a year and a half.
So you okay, so you guys were together, but would she come with you when you would come for the 3 months or no?
She came a couple of times for a couple of weeks, but also she had work and it wasn't easy.
Wow, talk about a serious support system. That's like really impressive that you guys made it through all of that.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it was meant to be, so nothing could have hurt it.
Yeah, I love that. You guys are adorable. It's always so fun to watch, like just the when you have like such a story like that and to see like a couple that stays strong together, like what do you feel like in terms of, I mean, the journal listeners, we love relationship advice. So give us like something. What do you feel like was a good practice that helped you guys get through that time period?
Uh, I don't know, a lot of things. I think we're good friends first and foremost. Like this helps a lot.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I wanted to add that one of the stays that I was in Vegas and I was supposed to fight, her father was murdered by his neighbor. If you ever heard this story.
No, that's crazy. In Israel?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. Holy
So
crap.
yeah, so I was back and forth, and she came to visit me actually once. She got back a week later. It was her birthday. Um, she was already orphaned from her mother, so she only had her father. It was her birthday. I was in Vegas. I called her, wished her a happy birthday. She said, "Yeah, my dad is gonna come pick me up soon. We're gonna go have the day together." And my dad, she's texting me, my dad's not coming, he's not answering his phone, all that stuff.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and yeah, and when he got down from he had a dispute with his neighbor who was not well in his mind. He was well, he wasn't insane or anything, but just a psycho. And, the moment he got out of the elevator, his neighbor stabbed him to death.
Oh my
And on her
God.
birthday. So that was another time that I had to rush back home,
Of course.
and be with her. And another fight that got delayed. Of course, the fight, who cares? But at the time, I was working very hard to get a fight finally. And
Mm.
then this happened, and then I stayed with her for a full year in Israel. So that was also some times that couldn't fight, couldn't train.
Wow, what an like just such a crazy story. She's been through so much. That's insane. Was that one of the LFA fights that got canceled? Because I saw you had a
No,
few.
no, one of my amateur
Oh,
fights.
an amateur fight. My God, what a strong woman. I mean, those kind of experiences really turn you into like just that. It makes sense that you guys are such a strong couple though, because you've been through so much obviously together, and that you would have like those experiences that really bind you almost.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, send her my love because I'm a fan of both her and yourself as well. Um, okay, so when you moved back here full time, 26, that's when you started working at Syndicate full time? or
Um,
training at Syndicate full time?
yeah, I was training at Syndicate from 2013 when I first, got there, um, all the way until this year. This year I changed camps.
Are you at Extreme now?
Yeah, 1 second, I need to save my cat.
Okay. Okay, please. We have a cat emergency, you guys.
Yeah, I didn't realize she was locked outside. I see her, I see her
Oh,
like being all miserable.
oh my God, poor baby. Ah, okay, so you move back. You guys move back when you finally get your official visa. You and Donna both come back, right? Obviously,
Hmm.
together. Okay, and then that's when you start working at Syndicate, and then recently you moved to Extreme. I was actually going to ask you about that. If you do like gym hopping, if you guys do a lot of exchanges, because I saw you working with Eric, and I was thinking, oh, I thought he was at Syndicate, and then so you completely moved over now.
Yeah, I like I do like to learn new things. I got my coaches. I don't like switching them. People put the time in me and invest in
Right.
me. I feel the loyalty, and I want to stick around with them. Um, I think in MMA it is important to always learn and go and see and spar different people, see different looks, maybe learn something. GIF is my striking coach to this day. I still like, learning, picking up something from another coach, or when I'm in Israel training with some different coaches is fun. Um, or just, go do some different striking, go do some kickboxing, some Muay Thai. It's always a good thing.
Mm.
Um, so even when I was at Syndicate, I went to spar a few times at Extreme. It was a good time. But now I felt like I really needed a big change and get out of my comfort zone, especially for this fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you did amazing this fight, so it shows, and you obviously crushed. Speaking of like training at different places in Israel, I always see you training at the Dopaminio? Is that what it's called?
Dopamino.
Uh, Dopamino? Okay,
Yeah.
because they have all the like the resistance bands on the walls and stuff. It just looks like the coolest place to train. They're worldwide. What's your relationship with them? Were you with them before you started the UFC? Did you start going to them now? Because it just looks like a very cool training facility.
So it's two things. There's the gym, which is an awesome wrestling gym, run by Hanoch Rachamim, which
Ah,
is an awesome wrestler from Israel.
yeah, I think I
There's
saw him at
also,
a nature party, by the way, which is
yeah,
hilarious. Yeah, yeah. I remember
everybody likes
sitting
to
there.
have fun.
I remember sitting there and I was like, "Is that Hanoch wrestling?" And I never went up to him because I was a little, in my element. And I just kept sitting there thinking, like, "That's definitely him. It's definitely him. Like, it's got to be him." Anyways, please carry on.
Yeah, and there's also like Mark Popov training there, and just a good solid gym that they do wrestling, and they also do some MMA, striking, stuff like that. They bring different coaches, so it's an awesome gym. Uh, and there's the company for the bands. So the bands are like resistant bands you use for training to develop like explosiveness, um, strength, speed. You can do it slow, you can do it fast, just general great training. So I was using the bands for a few years, and we've partnered up this year. So now I'm an ambassador for them. I'm sponsored athlete, but
Mhm.
I've been using the band since 2020, since there was no gym and I was training in the park. We were using those bands like hell.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's fun to watch the videos that you clip together of like, the inside leg trip and then you watch the training portion and then it going into the fight because you really see how you develop those skills just, in the gym, first of all, just working out, working on the actual strength that's required, the motion that's required, and then watching how that transforms into the actual fight, into the actual, live arena. And it's really cool to watch those. So I love that kind of stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's cool too. I like seeing it on my feed, and I feel like it gets a lot of traction and attention when you do a clip like that. Because at the end of the day, like that's what you want to see. You want to see that what you do in training actually works. And if what you do in training doesn't work, then either you're doing it wrong, or maybe you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be wasting your time on it if it's a technique that's not applicable.
Yeah, definitely. So back to just Israel's martial arts, because to me, it's always been so confusing why we don't have a bigger presence in the sport. First of all, it's not a height dependent sport. So it's not like, basketball where we need a bunch of like 6'5" athletes, right? And it's something that everybody goes to the army in Israel too. So we all get like some sort of basis of like we're just exposed to this. We're really good in judo in the Olympics. We're like always crushing it over there. I just don't understand why we don't have a bigger presence in MMA. And I feel like you're actually leading the charge to kind of make it happen. Like, why do you feel like it's been so slow for Israel to sort of come up with, MMA fighters? And how do you feel like we can improve that? Because I really think that it's one area in terms of like the sports world that we could actually dominate.
I think so too. There's a bunch of reasons. First of all, we're not a nation that's very, invested in sports like Russia or China or some of these countries, even like the USA. There's wrestling, it's Olympic. They pour tons of money into it. Taekwondo is Olympic. They pour tons of money into it. They got Olympic training center, all that stuff. You know, we only got a fraction of this. We only got a fraction of the budget. Um, Everybody who goes to the army, it kind of stops their athlete career if they do already have one.
True.
Again, some of the Krav Maga, you do, maybe it's going to help. Maybe it's going to make you also more prone to like be interested in martial arts and take up classes and maybe do go pro. But I think just if we had more emphasis on putting kids in judo, in wrestling, in boxing, kickboxing when they were younger, I think it would skyrocket. Um, like you said, the judo, we're such a small country and we're crushing it. Uh, Imagine if we had, 10 times the amount of kids who started judo, we would have 10 times the amount of medalists, probably, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I feel like judo transitions so well into MMA. All these people with really good judo backgrounds have like the most insane takedowns when they're in the octagon. So it's just like, to me, I was like, why are we not a like we need to have more people in this sport, but you're obviously like inspiring a ton of, people to come in and there's, oh, hello. Oh my God, you're so cute. Okay, what's the cat's name? Girl or boy?
Tula, Tula,
Tula.
she's adorable.
That's so cute. Oh my God, what a little angel. So white. Like it's like so ethereal looking. It's
Yeah,
like an angel.
I think I think there is a wave of fighters that are coming. Um, I see it all the time. I have, close friends that are fighters that are climbing their way up, but there's also a bunch of other guys that are climbing up. Um, I do try and, you know, help wherever I can. I want to promote the sport. Um, but, I think it's a matter of time before there's a bunch of Israelis in the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I follow all of the friends like Eli, Shimon, all of these people.
Hmm.
I'm excited to watch them, continue to put their best foot forward and like really see if we can get more UFC fighters because I think it would be just fantastic for, I mean, Jewish MMA fans across the world. Like we're just very excited about this, and it's excited to see people finally come in and walk in with the Israeli flag. I mean, I'm more stressed out watching you fight than anybody. Like I'm just like, oh, like it's nerve-wracking, it's exciting, it's exhilarating because I feel like it's like my people, there's just a
Yeah,
really like a deep connection because we're such a small group of people, and a lot of people don't understand that, so they wonder why we're so tied to our community and why we are so close, and it's because there's just not that many of us. We're a very small community, and so for us to see anybody doing anything at the highest level is such a big deal, and that really segues into the next thing that you've been talking about a lot, which is this anti-Semitism and how it's so crazy that we are the smallest community out there. Like we're such a small minority, and yet we are receiving the number one. We're like the number one in all these hate crimes all across. It's crazy. We got like 70% of the hate crimes in LA, 90% in New York. Like just absurd numbers that really are so unfathomable when you actually factor in how few we are out there. So what has that been like for you, just as being in the spotlight, being, a prominent Israeli in the spotlight? I'm sure you get a ton of hate in your DMs, but I'm sure you also get a lot of, thanks for speaking up, thanks for standing up, this means a lot. What's the experience been like for you, and how do you feel about just anti-Semitism and the rise of it right now?
yeah, like you said, we're the minority of minorities. We're tiny, our piece of land is a speck in the Middle East. and they don't want us to have it. You know, we're just such a small portion of people on earth, but they don't want to let us be. Um, our strength is not in our numbers, but it's in our unity. And I can tell you, you know, I've traveled a lot, even in Japan. Anywhere I go, there's a Jewish person there that's willing to help you if you need anything. Um, so, you know, that's amazing, incredible, whether it be Bet Chabad or just Jewish people or, you know, always somebody inviting you for a Shabbat dinner, like always, which I think is amazing. Um, and yeah, as far as all the hate and everything, you know, we're the chosen people. We've been chosen to be hated, but it's true. But you know, we got to fight back. We got to stand up for ourselves. Um, there's something about you know, the fact that sometimes you can hide you're Jewish. It's like a strength and a weakness. You know, sometimes, yeah, some people survive the Holocaust, survive terrible things because they were acting, you know, they were hiding their Jewish identity. And uh, on the other hand, like maybe it's too easy to hide it. You know, sometimes also campuses. Oh no, I'm not Jewish. I'm just my grandmother. Or oh, I'm Jewish, but I'm not Zionist. You know, being like apologetic about being Jewish. I understand that some people have to do it to survive, but I feel like it's got to be over. We got to be done with this. We cannot be apologetic about being Jewish. We got to be proud, and the only way to beat a bully is to stand up to him. Just, you know, um, bending, like folding harder is not going to make the bully leave you. And no matter how you're going to be apologetic and what you're going to say about your identity and how much you're not proud of it, they're still going to hate you. No matter if you say you're with Israel against Israel, they're still going to hate you. So be proud, stand up for yourself, do what's right, stand with your people. Together we are stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, you know, this idea of there was a tweet that we posted the other day that did really well, which is like an anti-Zionist Jew and a Zionist Jew walk into a bar and the bartender says, "We don't serve Jews." You know, like it doesn't really matter what you kind of, sorry, my audio just got a little weird. But it doesn't really matter, you know, what, you know, if you're proud, if you're not proud, if you're hiding, if you're not hiding, like the anti-Semitism is going to come your way regardless, and people are going to hate your people regardless. So it's, you know, I completely agree, and it's, I mean, it's something I'm very passionate about. I think that it's, you know, it's so important because we are the only people that we have to be able to stand up for each other. I was at a whole day yesterday talking about anti-Semitism and how to fight it in the media. And one thing that was made very, very clear was this idea that even in these diversity trainings that you're going to see, like in America and stuff, they don't include, they're not inclusive to Judaism. There's apparently in some of these diversity trainings, they'll go in and they'll say, you know, so and so faces bigotry, LGBT faces bigotry, all these people face bigotry, all these da da da. So they'll list the whole minority spectrum, and they'll say at the end, the only minority that doesn't face bigotry is Jews. And it's the most insane. When I heard that, I literally almost fell to the floor. I was like, "Are you guys like, is that serious? Like, how is that even a thing?" And it's true. And so, you know, we have to be there for each other. I think more so than ever before, and especially now. And so many Jews, whether they were from, you know, Eastern Europe or Mizrahi Jews, like I'm Moroccan, you know, all of the Iraqis, all of the Yemenite, all of the Iranian Jews, they were all kicked out. Everybody was kicked out. We were all dispersed all over. The reason why we're not back over there is because we were kicked out of all these places, and it happened to Jews across the spectrum. And it's so important to recognize that and to speak out about it. So I think I just, on behalf of our community, I just want to say like a massive thank you, because for people to see a Jew of such strength, you know, we always see the stereotypical, you know, Woody Allen type in the media, whatever. And we don't really often see like someone like you of your caliber who's legitimately super strong, both physically but also mentally, speaking out about this stuff. I think it gives a lot of strength to a lot of the kids too, that they can see like, oh, you know, I don't have to be like the nebby, nerdy, whatever. I can also be this super strong, resilient, athletic, you know, out there Jew that's going to stand up for themselves. And so I think it's really important. I think it's important what you did. And I feel like, you know, the fact that clip went viral and to such an extreme was it was actually very essential for the community at that point because it gave people a lot of hope. It gave them like something to be like, yeah, you know what? Come at me, bro. Like to everybody, not just to Kanye, to all of them.
I agree 100%.
Okay, so we had questions from the fans. I want to get to them just quickly. I don't know if you have to run. Do you have like another like 15?
Yeah, I got it. Let me see my. I'm good.
Okay, okay, great. I know the world, guys, I know the World Cup game already started, but don't worry, you'll be able to get to the second half. I know we're all very excited about this, but really the real game is tomorrow anyways. Okay, so let's talk. We had a question from Brian, who obviously did the article on you. If you guys didn't read his pieces, you should. He wanted to talk about your pre and post fight rituals. And this is such a good question because, I mean, now you're at, what this was like your sixth pro fight, so, or your seventh pro fight? I don't remember, but
Ninth.
your ninth? Okay, so have you finished? Are you rewatching Harry Potter from the beginning now?
Oh, I didn't in this fight.
You broke the
Uh,
ritual?
yeah, I broke the ritual. How come? I'll tell you how come. Because
Okay.
this time I wasn't alone in the hotel room.
Uh,
Usually, since COVID especially, they were putting us like in isolation almost. You know, we were the last 2 days before the fight, we would get COVID tested. Then you're in one room, your coaches are in another room. You can kind of go between rooms sometimes, but you're basically alone in the room. This time, you know, it was in Orlando. There was a crowd. No more of the BS. I was with my wife in the room, and we were probably chatting and watching stuff together. I wasn't like alone with Harry.
oh, wait, when you watch Harry, you weren't even with Donna. Like you were just completely
Just
alone.
alone in a room, nothing to do. So yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a joint ritual you guys did together. That's so funny. Okay, cool. Well, anyways, so what's the post-fight ritual? Do you have something that you do after the fights?
So after the fight, uh, usually I like to go and eat sushi, celebrate. Um, I usually don't sleep almost at all the night after the fight. One because of like the adrenaline, you know, it's such a rush. Um, the other thing is I'm just answering messages, texts, calling my mom, calling my dad, um, doing interviews like a lot of the time. I need to go through those messages to see what reporters wrote me. Then sometimes I immediately jump on an interview. And since the times are opposite in Israel, I can be doing interviews until 6 a.m. Um, go to sleep for a couple hours, wake up, do some more interviews, then start doing interviews in English. So it's not easy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, shout out to the boys in Israel. Eli, I talk to him a lot, the K-Drats guy. I
Hmm.
love him. He always sends me like random advice when I post jujitsu clips, and he's like, "Shawnee, please get better."
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. But no, he's awesome, and everything that they do over there in the UFC Israel group, I think is really cool as
Hmm.
well. Anyone in
Yeah, I
the
agree.
comment section, go check them out. K-Drats, go check them out. They're really cool. So yeah, okay, that's a good post-fight ritual. I love the sushi. I love that. We got a question from Nathan Kaufman. He posted this to the original page, original post when we put it up, and he goes, "Can you describe a typical workday for you during training camp? It seems like what is a day to day like?" And then he also goes, "Follow-up question: A lot of fighters seem to have difficulty knowing what to do with themselves the day after a fight." That's actually a very interesting question. So, what are the challenges going from like this super intense work training? You're just like super into the camp to then what do you do after like this week after where you just finished the fight? So talk to us about the training camp and then talk to us about transitioning to life after the fight.
Yeah, training camp is very strict. Um, you know, I'd wake up, you know, just uh, like a day, for example, I would wake up at 8 or 9 a.m., eat breakfast, do my first session at 10 a.m., do an hour of boxing, which would include, you know, some jump rope, some warming up, leg drills, squatting without weight, you know, just like getting the legs tired, getting the body really warm before I even start moving. Um, then hit mitts, do some shadow boxing, everything my coaches tell me to do. Done at 11. Usually I'm gonna go grab coffee with Dana, my wife. Uh, if we got time, then we like to do like a midday date and grab coffee.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. Later, eat lunch, um, and then do, you know, at least one more training session, if not two. So it could be jiu-jitsu, could be wrestling, could be um, what's it called? Conditioning.
Mm.
But I'm always going to do at least one more session, if not two. Also, like doing taekwondo, still karate, I do sometimes, Muay Thai. So I got to find 3 slots. Um, Sparring is Tuesday and Thursday at 3:30. So I do that when I'm getting ready for a fight, and it's hard sparring. So at the end of the day, your body is toast, and you got to do a lot of recovery as well. So you got to do ice baths, sauna, massages, physical therapy every day. I do. Um, you got to do a bunch of stuff just to maintain and not break down.
Mm.
Um, and you still get injured sometimes. Then you got to take care of the injuries while you're still training. So definitely very strict. But then after the fight, um, it's funny because all of a sudden you have no obligations, you have nothing to do. I used to go back to the gym the day after the fight, and my coaches told me they don't allow it anymore. I gotta wait at least 10 days to 2 weeks before I get back in the
They're
gym.
like,
Uh,
get out of here.
yeah. And my thinking was, hey, I finished the fight in 30 seconds. I'm good. I'm healthy. I want to keep training. But what you really need to recover from is the training camp, not the fight,
Right.
because you've been training very hard for a long time. And if you don't take some time off, your body is going to crash. You can only, you know, peak for so long, then you're going to crash. So you might as well do a controlled landing instead of crashing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's important. I don't think people realize how intense like a training camp is. They think that the fight is where you might sustain all of your injuries and stuff, but you actually like the whole training, making it through the whole training camp is I mean, without any injuries, pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Of course, the fight is more intense than any particular training sessions because no protective gear and you go all out. Um, but yeah, definitely if you got a quick finish or something, the training camp is a lot more taxing than the fight.
Okay, so we have a couple questions now in the little Q&A section. If you guys don't know in the live, you can drop those in there. There's a really good one that I'm actually super interested about. What are your thoughts on Krav Maga? It's very popular in Israel, but it's not as respected in the actual martial arts world.
I think Krav Maga is like a lot of martial arts. It really depends who's teaching it, where you're learning it. Uh, like most things on earth, most of it is crap, whether it be Krav Maga, karate, uh, kickboxing, I don't know, drawing. Most of it is not high level, and there's a reason. You got your average. We can't be all above average,
Mm.
right? The average is the average, then you got below average, and you got above average. Um, and I like, for me, I teach at a Krav Maga spot here. It's called Nomad Krav Maga.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I really like their style. I really like their training method. I connected with the coach years ago because he was teaching at Syndicate, and I came up to him and told him, "Hey, man, I really like what you're doing. Like what you're teaching these guys looks to me as a fighter really effective. Uh, you're a high-level martial artist. You're not, you know, some trainer with a fat gut that can't move and tells everybody to do push-ups. Like you're in shape. You're doing the work. You're training. You're learning." And I actually started, training with him. And I think just, for example, that style I really like, and I'm sure there's a lot of other gyms, but I'll tell you one thing, if you want to learn self-defense, if you want to learn combat sports or martial arts, there has to be sparring involved if you want to be ready to fight. If you're not healthy enough to spar or you don't want to spar, that's okay, but don't expect the skills, the drills you did to translate into a high stress situation if you haven't done the connecting link, which is sparring.
Mm. Yeah, big difference between hitting pads and hitting a face or getting hit in the face than holding up a
Exactly.
pad. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. I'm been working on not closing my eyes when I get punched. It's been a long process.
Yeah,
It's just
people think they're world beaters because they can hit the mitts really hard. But then when they get punched, they blink and they don't know where they're punching. They don't know where they're getting punched from. And then everything goes down the drain.
yeah, 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 definitely. Okay, so this is an interesting one. How many fights do you feel like you are away from a ranked opponent? And how far do you feel like you are away from possibly fighting for the title?
I would say I think I'm about 3 fights away from fighting a ranked opponent. And
Okay.
title, that I think that's too far right now to talk about it. Let's get a ranked guy first.
Definitely. I agree. One step at a time. Thank you, Klein, for that question. Okay, so I think we're going to start wrapping up soon. I don't want to take too much of your time. I just have one last question because there's been so much controversy right now around judging and scoring. And I really want your thoughts on this because everything that happened, obviously, with the Patty fight and just, I mean, it's crazy to me that we have yet to like solve this issue or work towards anything. So, what are your thoughts on judging in general? And also, what are your thoughts on open scoring? Do you feel like that would be beneficial as a fighter? Do you want open scoring?
I would love open scoring. I think if somebody, I don't know, any other sport, you know where you stand. Like if you got 2-0 in a soccer match, you know who's leading. They're not going to hide the score from you, and you don't know if the last one counted or not. So in MMA, it's kind of weird that we don't know where we scored. And I understand there's a big argument about, oh, if I know I'm winning 2 rounds, then I'm going to coast around, then the fight's going to get boring. Look, maybe could happen, but also sometimes people think they want 2 rounds and they're coasting, or their coaches told them they want 2 rounds and they're coasting. So what's the difference? The only difference is when you know for a fact that you won 2 rounds, your opponent knows for a fact that he lost 2 rounds, and he's got to go out and get it. Uh, like there's not a situation where two people think they won the first 2 rounds or they're complacent.
Mm, yeah. No, that's a really good point about the person who knows that they're behind. So they've got to, they've got to.
They gotta, and of course, if one is trying to fight and the other one is trying to not fight, then you give him a warning. You give him a warning for being passive and not fighting. Now, I'm not saying, if he's being counter-fighting or defensive. I'm saying if he's running away, if he's moving way too much, like it happens today in fights, the ref would stop it and say, "Hey, you gotta engage. This is a fight, it's not a marathon. Go out there and fight. Fight your fight, but fight." Um, so I think that'd be great. And of course, I think there's a lot to be done about the judging criteria. The judges, this sport is very young, but we gotta really be focused on improving it. Just saying, oh, with time it's gonna get better is like me saying, oh, with time my jiu-jitsu is gonna get better. Like, no, I gotta show up to the gym and work very hard for my jiu-jitsu to get better. And if we want this sport to be completely mainstream and not have anybody doubting the integrity of the sport, because I think the sport has great integrity. I don't think anything was fixed or anything like that at all.
Mm,
But you got to understand that most casual fans uh, would see that, and they don't understand even that the refs and judges are not hired by the UFC. They work for the commission, which is a government body. Um, they think, hey, this judge works for the UFC. Oh, they wanted Petty to win. Oh, this sport has no integrity. I'm not watching this anymore, which could really hurt us. It's time to step on the gas, get better judging criteria, get better judges, um, and evolve the sport. Keep evolving it. Don't get complacent.
yeah, definitely. I think Ariel Helwani, he's the one who put out a thing about the fact that they don't work for the UFC, but a lot of times he feels like these judges want to be in the good graces of the UFC, and so they'll almost score things according to how they feel like. I mean, but listen, all three judges scored, for Patty, which is so crazy to me. So, it's definitely
It is
something that has to
crazy.
improve. It's really like it's legitimately insane. I mean, I don't often go with the robbery thing, but there's just some fights that are like that where you think to yourself, like, wow, were they even watching this fight? So it is pretty nuts, and it definitely has to improve. Okay, so for the people who are in Israel, is young Israeli martial artists, anybody who wants to train, what are your top recommendations for gyms that they should check out? How can they get involved in the sport? Who should they be following? Just give us all of that, and then of course also please drop all of your social handles. I know you have a lot of platforms.
Um, for young Israeli fighters, I think I don't want to recommend any gyms. I think there's a bunch of great gyms. The real thing that Israel lacks is good competition. You got to compete against each other. You got to compete as much as you can. I understand we're a small country with a very small amount of fighters. So then your buddies with the fighters, but you got to fight them. It's hard. You got to do it. Either don't be their friend, or or you got to compete with someone. So might as well be somebody your weight class from your country. Do it in amateur fights if you can. Don't go pro too early, because you're gonna win a couple of fights in Israel. You're gonna be 4-5-0. That's all the fights you have in your life. Then you're gonna go to the US and fight somebody who has 10 amateur fights, 50 amateur boxing fights, whatever, and he's 5-0 as a pro. He's got 15 times more fights than you. It's not gonna end well. So do the amateur fights for as long as you can until it is time to really go pro. Don't do that too soon. Compete wherever you can and train hard. Stay humble. Don't buy into all that McGregor stuff. You're not McGregor. You're Shlomo. Be you. Don't try and be somebody else. Don't try and talk a big game because you've seen that's how it works. Just be you. Fake doesn't work. And every time I see these young fighters being fake and quoting, and acting, it doesn't look good. It's not going to get you anywhere. Be yourself. Train hard. That's it.
Amazing. Okay, and then what social platforms are you on? You're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter?
YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, IG. Yeah, all Natan_Levy, NATAN LEVY.
Amazing. And everybody buy his jiu-jitsu t-shirts. They're really cool. I love them.
Yeah, they're not on sale at the moment, but I'll get them on sale soon. I do have right now a new rash guard out. It's in partnership with Half Sumo, which is a company that I absolutely adore.
Buy the rash guard, you guys.
Yeah,
Get the shirt out. I love
they make amazing stuff, and it looks really cool. It's high quality. That's what I'm selling right now. So if anybody trains jiu-jitsu, MMA, or even the gym, there's a link in my bio to buy it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Natan, for staying with us for so long. Sorry we ran so far over. It was just such a good conversation. I couldn't end it. Amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for the support.
Appreciate it. And we'll be having more JJ Lives coming up. So stay tuned for announcements and follow Jewish Journal and follow Natan. And yeah, thank you guys. Take care.